Hey guys, DJ here at Top Deck Cards and Games. We've got a sick sealed Oath of the Gatewatch booster box. I'm going to crack open. Hopefully pull some sweet Eldrazi nonsense and an expedition, because that's what we're here for. And we start off with a Hissing Quagmire. That's one of the new Mainland cycle. This one's pretty sweet. It's got Death Touch. It's, what is it, 1/4? Something like that? 2/2. My bad, wrong one. I don't even know if any of them are 1/4s, but that one's a 2/2.
The blue-red one.
Yeah, okay. I thought so, yeah. Then you got uncommons that I'm not going to really go through. Everything's sweet. Yeah, we got a Waste, new mana source. If you guys aren't super familiar with the set yet, you haven't been paying attention. Actually, this card's sweet. I'll talk about it too since we have a Waste. But there's cards now that require specifically colorless mana, which is this little Waste symbol here. I'll get up to you guys so you can see it and show you a card with the cost. So what that means is that it has to be colorless mana. Now the little one with the gray spot is just generic mana, so it can be any type of mana, but the Waste symbol specifically has to be colorless. And this card's actually really sick. It's we've been calling it Eldrazi Charm. It exiles a creature with a power toughness 1 or less, counters a sorcery spell, or puts a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion into play. And it's just a really sweet card. Okay. Elemental token, clearly the highlight. Hero rare is Bearer of Silence. Bearer of Silence is actually really sweet. I think that an Eldrazi aggro deck is going to be really good. Probably black-red, somewhere in there. Definitely black in Standard, and this guy is one of the best cards for that deck. It's a 2-drop, devoid obviously. When you cast it, you can pay a black and a waste and a colorless and make an opponent sacrifice a creature, and it flies. It can't block, but I mean, who really cares? It's a 2-drop flyer that's going to get in for 2. Then in the mid to late game, it's going to also make our opponent sacrifice a blocker, and I think that's just incredibly strong. Looking at our uncommons here, we have another pretty strong Eldrazi card, this Flare Drone. Not sure if this guy actually makes it into an Eldrazi deck, but it's a black-red creature with first strike. It's 3/1 in. Whenever another colorless creature enters the battlefield under your control, your opponent loses a life, which is pretty sweet. And then we have another colorless land. This guy makes a mana of whatever color when it comes into play. It comes into play tapped, and it taps for waste mana. Eldrazi mana? What's the name of this? Waste mana?
Colorless mana.
Is it specifically called colorless mana?
Yeah.
That's boring.
The land for it is called Waste.
Generic and that's confusing to me. And we got a Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. I think sweet. And nothing in our commons. Nissa is really cool. It makes an 0/1 plant, which throwback to Avenger Zendikar. It also puts +1/+1 counters on all your creatures. Again, throwback to Avenger. He's my boy. And it's all -7. You gain X life, draw X cards, where X is the number of lands you control. It's a 3-drop planeswalker. Cheap walkers are almost always playable unless they're Tibalt, so I would expect this card to see some play and do some exciting things in some sort of green aggressive deck. Or even a more mid-rangey deck where you can benefit from the blockers every turn. But being a 3-drop that protects itself, even if you're just trading an 0/1 or dumping away an 0/1 for it to grow, is really good. A foil Sifter of Skulls. This one actually good. This one's pretty cool, I guess. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you get an Eldrazi Scion. So just another sweet graveyard synergy. Been a lot of them recently. Then we have Mina in Den. Cards aren't very sweet at all. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're sweet if you play EDH or anything. I don't think they're very exciting though. They let you play an additional land, but in Standard, I guess that might be cool. Going back further, we have Azusa and stuff, so not something that I think is the sweetest.
We don't have Summer Bloom anymore.
It doesn't matter. You can play extra lands if you want to still. I actually think this card's really sick. World Breaker. I guess I like fat green cards and didn't notice. When you cast this guy, you get to exile an artifact, enchantment, or land, and you can pay 2 generic and a colorless to sack a land and put it back into your hand from your graveyard. So just a recurring threat, 7-drop, remove your opponent's lands from play, or whatever problem permanents they have. In my world, that is exclusively lands because my version of Magic is more fun if I just mana screw my opponent. So you might disagree. Overwhelming Denial. This card is sure to see play somewhere. As a 4-mana counterspell, it's not very good, but when you played a spell before it, it only costs 2 mana, just blue to counter a spell with its surge cost, so that's not how these were sorted at all. So if you already played a spell, it's just literally counter spell, which, I mean, it's very good in a defensive, or offensive use rather. You play a spell, they try to stop you, you counter their spell. And I think it'll see play somewhere. Matter Reshaper, one of the most exciting cards in the set, actually, to me. It's extremely powerful in some sort of aggressive deck. When it dies, you get to reveal the top card of your library. If its cost is 3 or less, it comes into play. If not, it goes into your hand. And I think that that's a pretty strong effect for Standard, honestly. It's just a very sticky creature. Like, you play it, your opponent removes it. You either end up with free cards in your hand or more threats in play. And I mean, with all the cheap Eldrazi guys, it can cycle into plenty of threats. And I think that card is just going to be really, really powerful. Definitely fits into an aggressive Eldrazi strategy, like I was saying before. So look out to see that guy on the table. Another one of the manlands, the Wandering Fumarole. I've never heard that word before. Is that a real word?
I don't know.
Stop muting me, so and check if that's a word. The Fumarole, Fumarole. Kind of throwback to gosh, what's the name of that card? Frostburn Weird. Does basically the same thing. It turns into a 1/4 when you activate it. You can pay 0 to switch it to be a 4/1. Really, really cool card. Just all the man lands are fine. Like, even if they aren't good, like having lands that both fix your colors and do something aggressive or whatever in like a long drawn out game where everyone gets low on resources is just really sweet, and that card will certainly see play in blue-red decks of some sort. Another cool card that I like, a couple of my friends like a lot, this Storm Chaser Mage, just a 1/3 with flying, haste, and prowess. It's a lot of keywords on a card, so normally when you pay 2 mana for that many abilities, your card is okay.
A fumarole is an opening in a planet's crust, often in the neighborhood of volcanoes, which emits steam and gases.
Interesting, so that is a regular word. That's a word that people use.
People use that word.
Someone uses that word?
Colt might.
Colt probably does.
Colt might use that word.
All right. This I don't even know what this guy does, so I don't know if that means he's really unexciting, but I'll read him to you. We packed a nice Dread Defiler, 6 and a black. Okay, yeah, this guy's pretty cool and limited. You pay 3 and a colorless, exile a creature from your graveyard, your opponent loses life equal to its power. Okay. It happened. I think I've been able to say something sweet about every card before that one, so it was bound to happen eventually. Oh, yep, 2 in a row. Nice. This guy is a dragon. He meets your requisite set requirement of having a dragon. Cool. I guess if you pay him for his surge cost, he's okay. Like 5/4, deals 3 to a creature. No, he's still bad. He's never good. Sorry. Oh, Kozilek. Kozilek's actually really cool. One of the better fatties in Standard now, along with Ulamog. This guy costs 2 of those stupid colorless symbols. When you cast him, you get to draw until you have 7 in your hand, which is pretty sick. I don't like the way they worded it. They could have just said draw till you have 7, I think, right? If you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference. Yeah. So he's got menace, he's hard to block, and you can discard a card to counter spells, which, you know, again, just really awesome. When he comes into play, you basically just take control of the game instantly. You draw up to a full grip, and you can discard cards to like match the cost of your opponent's spells and counter them. You're the one with the 12/12 menace in play and 0 mana counter ability. So if you resolve this guy and he sticks in play, you will probably win, and that is always cool. Definitely one of the more hyped cards in the set. People like Giant Eldrazi's. I like Giant Eldrazi's. They're always cool. Hedge and Alignment, my favorite card in the set secretly. I've set out to win a game with this card in Standard at least once. Probably won't be that difficult in some sort of blue control deck. I like alternate win conditions. I know a lot of people think they're pretty cool. So the way this card ends the game is if you have 1 in your hand, in your graveyard, in exile, and in play. At the start of your upkeep, you can reveal your hand, and if you have all those, you win the game. It's got hexproof, so it's a little bit hard to get rid of, and it's got a built-in scry ability for 1 and a blue, so it does help you sort of progress the game state. Yeah.
Slowest way possible.
Yeah, in the literal slowest way possible, but, you know, it's fine. We'll win a game in Standard with it. You could also cheese your way in Modern with it. Props to Stump for this one by just gifting for all 4 of them. So you're 3/4 of the way there already. Just got to get 1 removed and 1 into play. But that sounds too easy. No, we can't do that. They all have to have different names.
Good point.
Didn't even consider it when you said it before. Oops. Ruins of Oran Reef. This card, a lot worse than the green Oran Reef from original Zendikar, but
That's because this one's in ruins.
this one is in ruins. He's not wrong. But it does pump up your Eldrazi Bros and tap for the precious colorless mana. So I don't think that it's become a strong upside on cards to tap for exclusively colorless. But it's bound to happen eventually. Sylvan Advocate, another really cool card. Just really efficient beater. It's like it's a 2/3 normally with Vigilance, which isn't bad for 2 mana. Like it's already just better than a Grizzly Bear. But once you get up to 6 lands, we have a 4/5 with Vig, which really strong. Games in Standard generally go fairly long.
It also
Like,
makes the lands huge.
it also makes your lands huge if you animate any of them in whatever ways. So that's a lot of upsides. Definitely just a strong card and kind of not an aggressive green deck, but like a mid-rangey green deck that seeks to actually like actively deal damage. So I like it. Those are way too glared right there. No saving it. All right, cool. They sit up here now. My bad. Get a foil Null Caller and Remorseless Punishment. Target opponent
Don't
loses
read it.
5 life unless they discard 2 cards. Sacrifice a creature or planeswalker. Alright, this card does something. You know, either they discard those cards and don't die, or they lose 10 life and don't care. So, cool. This card has Ally in its text box, so let's see if I'm just disappointed.
Yep.
I am, what do you know? Pumps up your Ally, bros. That's, seems to be a theme in Ally cards. They pump each other up and still suck. I'm sorry if you like Ally decks, viewers. The Endbringer. He's got a cool name, so he's got to be cool, right? It's pretty metal. He brings the end.
Very slowly.
Yeah, very, very slowly. For those of you who don't know, he taps to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. During each other player's untap step, he does untap though, so you can deal 2 damage with him over the cycle of turns. For a colorless, you can tap him, make a creature unable to block, and for 2 colors, you can tap him and draw a card. He's really into the slow grind and doesn't really get very far doing it, but all right, I feel it. A nice unnatural endurance. Foils are cool. And you got an Eldrazi Displacer. Displacer's a really cool card. He blinks a guy on either player's side of the field, puts it back into play tapped. So you can use it to clear blockers out of the way if you really need to. Obviously, you can abuse enter the battlefield abilities with it, with any other blink effect, and it creates an infinite in Standard with Zulapur Cutthroat and 6-drop Eldrazi guy whose name I don't remember. So be on the lookout for that. That's always a cool way to win the game, just some sort of infinite life drain. And the Reckless Bushwhacker actually is a really cool card too. I think that with the cards we have now, there's a slight chance that you can make Goblins playable in Standard, and I think that this card will do a pretty good job of helping it. It's just kind of a worse Goblin Bushwhacker, but I mean, you know, what can I ask for, I guess? So if for Surge, for 3 mana normally, it just comes in as a haste 2/1, doesn't really do anything. But if you pay the Surge cost and play it for 2 mana, it gives your whole team +1/+0 in haste. So that's really strong. You can play it with something like a Hordling Outburst plus it comes in for a total of 8 damage right there on its own, not counting any other things you already had in play. Or maybe play like a Goblin War Chief plus this guy for 4 mana, swing in, or not War Chief, Pile Driver, sorry. For 4 mana and swing in for about 1 million. Follow the Titans. Not very cool. Interesting. Huh. Alright, this truck's just driving around in the parking lot. It's snowing outside. They're having a hoot, I guess. This is another aggressive Eldrazi creature. Another 2-drop, 2/1 with flying. This one has flash also, so you can drop it on your opponent's turn to give it kind of a pseudo haste. It also removes the top cards of your opponent's library. I forget what the effect actually does when it removes something. If it's a land, you can put it back in your hand. So you can use that to dodge removal. It also feeds your processors by just removing cards. And I mean, if you build Eldrazi aggro with blue in it, that would certainly be a card that I would look to include in my deck list. But I'm also not so sure that Eldrazi aggro really wants blue cards. We got a foil plains. That's hype. And Jory N. This guy's sweet. Kind of plays into the surge mechanic a lot. When you play your second spell for the turn, he draws you an extra card. He's a 3-drop 2/3, so like he's not very efficiently statted, but if he survives for a couple turns and you get to draw a couple cards with him, very efficient card in the long run. Varadeemer, another pretty sweet Eldrazi card. When you play it, you can pay a colorless mana. If you do, you put a 1/1 Eldrazi into play for each creature that died this turn. So basically, if you traded your board in or stacked your board off to a husk or something, you can pay an extra colorless when you play it and get a bajillion tokens, which is, sweet. Draga Auxiliary Foil, ooh, and Captain's Clause. Yeah, it's not very sweet. Honestly, this box has been great. Really just hoping we get an Expedition at this point, just because that would be icing on the cake. Little Spawnbinder Mage, and an Oath of Nissa. This is actually just an extremely strong card in this set in probably multiple formats, to be honest. Green card selection is just really not a thing for the most part. So having a 1-mana green ponder effect basically is going to be really good. Lets you get a creature, land, or planeswalker, which in a lot of green decks is basically every card you play, barring a select few powerful spells, which it does suck you won't be able to get, but I think it'll be okay when you're able, like in an elf deck, to pick whatever elf you need in, a standard deck to find your bombs. So Elemental Uprising and Needlespire, the red-white part of the Manland cycle. It makes a 2/1 with double strike, so you can pump it up, deal a lot of damage, kind of surprisingly. Doesn't really fit too well in an aggressive strategy though, since it's 4 mana to activate, and it doesn't come online till later, and it gives you a tap land early in the game, which can kind of put you pretty far behind when you're trying to play that aggressively. Eldrazi Mimic, this guy's also, it's a 2-mana 2/1, so it's, a fine creature, not overwhelmingly efficient, but whenever you play another colorless creature, it can copy its stats until the end of the turn, so it can basically function as a bigger attacker than that every turn, especially later in the game when you're playing, like, World Breaker, I think is the name of the haste trample one. And coming in hot. Oh, and we did get an Expedition. We got Expedition Wasteland. What's up, guys? These are awesome. You can just take a look at that. I've been on a roll with the box I've been opening recently. That's beautiful. Wasteland, for those of you guys who aren't familiar, taps for a colorless, and you can sacrifice it to destroy a non-basic land in play. Really awesome card in Legacy. Sees a ton of play, and this is a really, really sick card to pull. This box was literally all you can ask for. We got a Mirror Pool. Another colorless land. It taps for colorless, obviously, comes into play tapped. You can pay 2 and tap it to copy a instant or sorcery you control. You can pay 4 and sacrifice it to put a token of a creature that you control onto the battlefield. It's got a lot of utility, it does a lot of different things. It does normally just kind of die, but it's, intended, I guess, to be sort of a late game land, give you some utility, not really a early game mana piece unless it absolutely has to be. Corrupted Crossroads, just the City of Brass for Devoid cards. I guess that matters since we don't have City of Brass in the format if you play a greedy 4-color Devoid deck, or 4-color Devoid deck, but the mana bases in the standard right now are just so good that I don't think it really matters. Eldrazi Obligator. Cool card. 3/1 with haste that also lets you threaten an opponent's creature, so another powerful aggressive effect, but it costs so much mana once you play it and pay the extra mana onto it. So a 5-drop, yeah, it will do its 3 plus whatever you take. In any other circumstance, it can just be a 3-drop, 3/1, which is pretty strong anyway. Not strong, but it's an aggressive card. If it gets in for the 3 damage, that's cool. I don't know. It doesn't seem great to me. Gladeheart Cavalry, it's very underwhelming. We got Kalidas, Trader of Get. Cleus has lifelink. If a non-token creature your opponent controls dies, you get a 2/2 zombie, and then you can sacrifice a vampire or a zombie to put 2 +1/+1 counters on Cleus. So grows to outstanding size. If it is left unchecked and you're able to kind of trade with your opponent, it fills up your board, makes it very impressive. But you know, if your opponent isn't playing a lot of creatures or whatever, it just kind of does nothing. Man, this box was insane. We got a foil Nissa too. That's awesome. This is beautiful too. Man, that's awesome. I already talked about Nissa a lot, but this is just everything you could ask for out of a box. Seagate Wreckage, another key card for the aggro Eldrazi decks, or aggro decks in general, and standard most likely, really. It lets you just draw an extra card if you're hellbent, so that is if you have no cards in your hand. It taps for colorless, and for 2 in a colorless, you can tap it and draw a card if you have no cards. I think that card is going to be really strong also in multiple decks. It would also be really good in Lantern Control in Modern. I think it'll be really good anyway. It might not be, because obviously you intend to stay at 0 cards in that deck. Your cards also cost roughly 0 mana anyway, so I don't know. We'll see. Oath of Chandra, another sweet part of the Oath cycle. Every single one of those isn't bad. I think they're all standard playable. This one is a 2 mana, basically sorcery speed incinerate. My bad, it only hits creatures actually. So 2 mana, deal 3 to a creature. Then if you have a planeswalker, or if a planeswalker entered the battlefield at the end of each hand step, it deals 2 damage to your opponents. So, I mean, it can get some damage to the face in. It's probably just going to be an incinerate with mild upside most of the time. And then another Mina Wildborn. Whatever. So this box was absolutely insane. I'm very happy with most of our mythics. We got a foil Nissa and a Wasteland Expedition. Like, these alone make the box worth it by far, really. This is like twice the value of the box just on one of these cards. But then we have the Kozilek, the regular Nissa, the World Breaker. Just a really sick box. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Would you be happy if you got this box? I know the answer is yes. And then let me know what you guys get out of your boxes. So, thanks for watching.